Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Witch on the Holy Night. So last episode, it was Aoko versus Flat Snark. It was a pretty epic, but yeah, Aoko won. She defeated it. So let's see what happens today. The only one left for the enemy side, I guess, is Alice, right? So what is she gonna do? We're gonna see. Oh, once a ploy has been broken, it's gone forever. Okay, so basically Alice wasted it here though. Flat Snark would never return again to this world. And yeah, why did she use such a strong thing, right? Against Aoko. Like, even though, yeah, they're gonna kill Sojiro. But yeah, it was so strong and now she cannot use it again because it broke. Yeah, because Aoko destroyed it. It was an insanely rare item, so invaluable that it would have been impossible to price it for an auction at the association in London. Aoko had sent Alice's priceless treasure of the magecraft world to oblivion. Needless to say, things had gotten more than a little out of hand. They had both agreed to fight, so Alice probably would not complain. Even if she was furious, she would never be so undignified as to show it. The second Aoko relaxed, her fatigue finally caught up with her. True. She did everything in her power to fight off an overwhelming drowsiness. Aside from a few minor internal injuries, her body was miraculously unscathed, so much she felt that she could probably stand up and dust herself off after a bit of rest. The golden moon continued to burn in the night sky. Aoko's bleary eyes went wide in astonishment. She was still unable to lift a finger. She sighed in resignation. Aoko accepted that her final stand left her with only 10 seconds before she burned to ash too. Elsewhere, just a short moment prior, buffeted, how do you even say that? By strong winds atop the roller coaster, Sojiro gravely peered down at the ground. All he could muster was a single murmur. He could see Aoko on top of some drawing on the ground and... In the distance, there was something familiar in the direction of the ruined house of mirrors. Sojiro's job to throw Aoko's hair from a great height was complete. While not the most impressive of tasks, it was absolutely a matter of life or death. And to top it all off, just thinking about how he was going to get back down to the ground was making him dizzy. He had experienced more than enough trouble for one day. He was flustered as he stood atop the swaying bridge. What is that? What, it's back? A skull suddenly appeared in the sky above. On the ground, he could see a circling blue light with Aoko Ozaki in the middle of it. Oh, they're basically just showing Sojiro's side of things while this was happening, I guess. And one more thing. A shadow was approaching Aoko that only someone from his vantage point could see. Wait, there's actually someone there? A shadow missing the lower half of its body. Oh, it's the... what do you call it? The puppet. The upper half of its body was slowly clawing its way to Aoko. So something was really there. Okay. They were still over 600 feet apart. Unfortunately for Aoko, she completely failed to notice it approaching from behind.
遠くて見えないけど、あれは
He was sure of what it was now. There was only one thing in the park that would chase Aoko and not him, the puppet.
いや、でも、ほら、あるいはひょっとしてただの偶然ではないだろうか。
What do you mean coincidence? His mind ran in circles. It was a perfectly reasonable reaction. Any grip in reality he might have had was long lost when Aoko started firing beams of light at the monstrous moon. Aoko's merciless fire buffeted the roller coaster like a storm. Just standing on it was almost enough for him to be thrown off and killed. At any rate, Sojiro couldn't fathom the situation. Should he head back to the entrance of the roller coaster and warn Aoko about the incoming threat? No, there was no way he could make it in time, and to make matters worse, there was a horde of bread down there waiting for him. And it may very well have been the case that Aoko was already aware of the puppet and would take it out as soon as it got closer. If she was, Sojiro was sure he would only be in the way. But it did not seem like there was anything he could do to help. And beyond that, Aoko was not the only one in danger. He was in quite the predicament himself. You can go home again. The road home was never as safe as one thought. It was as true here as it had been in the mountains. The path he was on was no exception. As risky as the ascent had been, it was even more dangerous to go back down. This was no time to be worrying about the others. His shaking legs reminded him that only 200 feet separated him from death.
大丈夫。それは分かっている。けど。
His head was pounding. This was reckless and stupid. Having been raised in the mountains, he was more sensitive to danger than anyone raised in the city. And just thinking about what he was about to do made his throat seize up. There was only one thing he could say for sure.
青崎のことだ。あれに絶対気づいていない。
With a sobbing shout, Sojiro started making his way down the 200-foot frame of the roller coaster. His race towards death accelerated. He never meant to speed up, but the downward slope propelled him forward. Yeah, when you're going down something, you are gonna be much more faster. The acceleration right now. It was too late for regrets. Now that he was running, he had no choice but to go even faster. And time was not on his side. He never would have made it in time if he'd taken the long way down, and never mind the bread men crowding the exit of the roller coaster. With the exits blocked, the outcome would be the same. Whether he went slowly or quickly, there was no reason to rush to his death as desperately as he did. So what? So what if it was futile? Sojiro cleared the doubts from his mind. He turned his attention to what he could do, keep his footing, and try to arrive at the bottom as quickly as he could.
間違えるな。今大事なのは間に合うとか助けられるとかそういう結果の話じゃなくて。
He had no idea what impulses were driving his stiff limbs. He just focused on the moment of pushing past the fear and the cold logic. At his core, he was the kind of person to deal with the problems head on. There would be the time to think about the consequences later. But hesitation was not only his obstacle.
こんな時に
The worst possible hindrance appeared at the time when not focusing on the track would mean certain death. Yeah, that egg is still following him. Sojiro sensed something wrong with the egg he had been so studiously observing out on one eye. something had changed. You see that? Queen Alice. And at the very moment he realized it. Was it a bomb? A soldier stumbled and instinctively caught himself. It was a miracle he had not fallen. Descending a roller coaster on foot was an act of suicide. That egg stayed right by his side, so so close it was likely it would collide with him. Though he was trying as hard as he could not to look at it, he could not help but feel unease that the door-like decoration in its center was gradually opening. He cursed his rotten situation, and yet he refused to slow down. He ran even faster, glaring at the egg on the side. Soldier was baffled to find that he was smiling. Perhaps it had something to do with Aoko's charm. Soldier could not tell one way or the other. He could still feel Aoko's fingers on his skin. The trust and expectation she had placed in him was etched into his heart. But what spurred him on was something entirely different. It is all stemmed from a much deeper problem. It was something inside him that he could not understand at the time, but would eventually come to terms with one day. He carefully judged the distance as he ran down the track of death. But the distance between what? That went without saying. It was a distance between himself and the one thing that could save his life. He told himself he was going to do it over and over like a mantra. Sojiro could not believe himself. What he was about to do was incredibly stupid. But what is stupid when smart is not an option? Amidst it all, he laughed at how pointless such reflection was now. Temporary confusion, a psychological thrill ride, both had laid his soul bare. What really mattered, but a simple man gets by without deep thought. Sojiro's primitive mind did not crave success or reward. For him, it was simple.
Yes.
He was doing it because he wanted to, not because he felt obliged to those around him. His desire to live his way was his and his own. If the egg had been equipped with a vocal function, it would have gasped in shock at what happened next. The boy, who had only tried to escape until this point, suddenly shifted his weight. He pointed his feet outward instead of inward. On the edge of one rail, he crouched ever so slightly to maintain momentum and gazed at the floating egg. He soared through the night sky. It was a flight that lasted a mere 1.5 seconds. A cordless bungee jump from 100 feet above ground. His destination? The egg. The only thing that would stop his fall, the giant flying egg. He shrieked, this time out of elation as he desperately clung to the egg's surface. Just earlier, the cold-blooded witch had told him that without fear, the top of the building would feel no different than a balance beam. This is from the same witch that would have been left speechless had she witnessed this spectacle. Fearlessness was one thing, recklessness was another. He followed it up with an act that would irritate her for days to come. Clinging to the egg, he shifted his gaze away from it. He felt the rapid descent. Sojiro, focusing his half-shut eyes on the ground, leaped off the egg once they were a few feet from the ground, and then turned back to it, carefully to re-establish eye contact. Something so unbelievable, though, to Sojiro, the elevator at the department store and the mysterious floating egg were both just moving objects, virtually indistinguishable from one another. Okay, at least he's down now. Wait, it's saying that is food? An egg? He landed near the plaza. The shortcut that almost cost him his life had paid off. Sojiro took off running the second his feet touched the ground. The puppet after Aoko was the only thing on his mind. He paid no mind to the moonlight in the sky, or the egg, furious about being used and seconds away from self-destructing and blasting fragments all over the place. Aoko's dumbfounded expression spurred Sojiro on. The curse was complete, and the empty egg began to sing its warning to let them know there was no escape. Oh, he got hit. Shrapnel from the egg exploded through the air. The ode to the Queen Alice that Alice had engraved into the dumpty quickly robbed him of his senses. Ode to Queen Alice. He snapped back to the task in hand and ran to Aoko, still lying on the ground. His legs ran of their own accord, though he could not have ever stopped them anyway, since he could no longer feel them. Honestly, I'm kind of confused what is happening right now. The scrambled murder case. Piles of rubble became flowers of light blooming from the earth. Okay, so this was... no, I actually thought earlier, right, that while Aoko was fighting Flat Snark, that was happening. So this was what Sojiro was doing. But yeah, this is actually after the battle, because yeah, Aoko's here, and then the puppet is there. Okay. The final curtain drew close, and the defeated left the battleground. Had Alice Kawanji seen it up close, it would have left her beside herself. The two had escaped by a hair's breadth. The only person in a position to witness a rare mutual destruction was a girl who had been saved from it. The boy who had never stopped running paid it no mind. I mean, Sojiro is definitely injured here. The safety of the girl in his arms meant infinitely more to him than the miraculous way in which he saved her. The moon did not wait for dawn to set. The ornamental texture of the fairy tale kingdom faded away. All of the illusions returned to the way they were before, from the ostentatious chords reverberating through the streets to the puppets welcoming their guests. Peace and quiet reigned once more. Is it finally over? over a forgotten kingdom and never to be awakened again. Out flickered the embers of a late night dream, even the electric lamps that illuminated the park. Together they watched it disappear. Sojiro lay on the ground, desperately gasping for air like a fish out of water. I like how Aoko's outfit, like it didn't even sustain any damage. The curse of the exploding egg had numbed his pain, and he was understandably exhausted after all he had experienced. He looked like he could be blown away by the lightest breeze. I mean, Aoko was fighting the puppet, right? And then Flat Snark afterwards. But yeah, it doesn't look like Aoko got any damage. Like, her clothes, I mean. While Aoko was also exhausted, she was still in better shape. Focused on taking deep even breaths, she was already working to recover her strength. She addressed Sojiro indifferently as her gaze remained in the amusement park. The abruptness of it was a bit theatrical in nature. She wanted to look at him as she spoke, but her pride was simply too great. The moment she had accepted death had seemed like an eternity. She was beside herself in shock at how indifferent she had been as the shards rained down from the moon. But a reassuring voice snapped her back into reality. Why did he do it? And what was he thinking? What moronic things did he have to do to pull it off? She had no answer for these questions. Lying on the ground as she was, all she knew was that he had more than made up for his failure in the House of Mirrors and then some in those fateful final moments. She addressed him hoping to find answers but found herself unable to probe any further. To dig any deeper would feel like defeat, which is why it was so unlike her to ask him in the first place. Lucky for her, Sojiro had neither the capacity nor sensitivity to understand how egocentric she was being. He stuttered between labored breaths. It was taking him so much effort just to breathe that he could not address her properly. She watched him out of the corner of her eye. Thinking back on it, the boy had performed the same role each time. Each and every time, he did what he could in spite of his feckleness. It was far more admirable than nearly all the tactics, even if she did defeat her opponent. He did not even recognize how extraordinary his last act of courage was.
提案。あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら、俺のことは見逃してくれる?
At the very least, he had the courage to keep trying whatever he could. A spectator might have viewed him as a supporting actor. His actions were not exactly memorable, but the lead actress he supported did not see it that way.
まあね。認めたくないし、口になんてもっとしたくないけど。
Such inspired actions were wasted in a supporting role. This guy really pulled off the impossible. It was so amazing that she wanted to shout it as loud as she possibly could for all the world to hear.
青崎?
ほんと、人畜無害も同すぎると侮れないわ。
All Aoko could do was sigh. How could she not? Even she was forced to admit that the way he'd snatched her from the jaws of death was dashing.
ま、評価甘めだけど。
Truth be told, he was a lunatic for doing what he did. She steadied her breathing and composed herself. She was in bad shape and she had her pride as a mage to consider. Which was why she needed to maintain an air of dignity when making a proclamation.
しずきくん、見逃すのは今日だけって話だったけど、あれ、なしでいいわ。とりあえず、命は助けてあげるから。
She hastily extended her right hand. It was either to shake his or to help him up. However, Sojiro did not take her hand but instead stood up on his own. This night, despite the sheer insanity that he had just experienced, his face had not once looked as incredulous as it did now.
何そのリアクションは。
She stammered, worried that she had deeply embarrassed herself. Look at her face. Sojiro's gaze was fixed upon Aoko. A problem had dawned on Aoko. Though she normally hated being stared at, this time she did not mind. Rather, she was enjoying the warmth in his eyes and felt like it was something she could almost come to appreciate. Don't you get it? This isn't just about friendship, and I didn't mean he only likes you either. Believe me when I say that sounded G, really. Okay, we're going to flashbacks now. The conversation came rushing back. It was a memory before left forgotten. Yeah, that's when she was talking to her dog. Pushing Tobimaru's words out of her mind, Aoko turned to Sojiro. Oh, now she's blushing. Look at her face.
それとこれは別だから。私はあんたのこととかほんとどうでもいいんだから。
Puzzled, Sojiro tilted his head.
さっき嫌いだって言われたけど。
He responded matter-of-factly to her suddenly declaration. She certainly had to point that out, and to his face, no less. It had a mere figure of speech that he was not meant to take literally, but now was not a time to belabor the point.
そうじゃなくて、あなたが私に惚れてても期待しないでって言ってるの。
Yet, Belabor, she did anyway. What is Belabor? Aoko blushed slightly, realizing how inane she was being. She wondered how she ended up in this position. Okay, so Belabor is like an argue. Okay. And yet she knew that she had to get this off her chest. All that was left was to politely wait for his response. I can't date you. What? Such a heartbreaking, painful words were too much for the simple boy to hear. His shoulders slumped as if the world was coming to an end, or so Aoko thought. Wait, she actually say that? Not yet. Maybe she was just thinking, right? On the contrary, Sojiro was sitting there in deep thought.
俺が青崎に惚れてるって？
Sojiro murmured the words as if they were a magic spell. She shot right back at him with the affirmative. After a moment of deep contemplation, the boy turned to the expectant girl and said,
なんで？
Okay. The music is gone. Oh, she's gonna punch him. He had to be joking, but he was not. He was completely serious. He liked her, but he didn't like her. Of course, the vice president had jumped to conclusions. The boy had no interest in romance. He probably didn't even know what that was. I can see Aoko's face. The face she does with her hand to her mouth, right? She was incredibly embarrassed by how confused Sojiro still appeared to be. Look at her, she's shaking. Her rosy complexion spread throughout her entire body.
もう一度聞くけど、なんで？
そりゃ、こっちが聞きたいわよ！飛び丸の大バカ野郎！
Just like that, now that's the death of Shojiro. After all that, she had lost her cool and given in to an unjustifiable outburst. It was time to seal off the area and destroy all evidence. Aoko's embarrassment devolved into sheer panic, and her grudge against Tobimaru suddenly manifested as a criminal assault. She lashed out with a punch that could have taken down a bird mid-flight. More specifically, it was a brutal right hook. Aoko blinked. Her blow had connected with something solid, snapping her out of her reverie. Her temper had lashed out at the completely defensive Sojiro. It had been a splendid blow with all her weight behind it, knocking him out cold. Sojiro groaned, crumpling to the ground. Her punch finished the job that the curse had started. If not for the discomfort on his face, he appeared almost to be sleeping. Aoko convinced herself that he was napping and not concussed.
いっか。予定通りになったものね。
The tension in her shoulders eased away as she looked down at Sojiro. A ton had gotten in her way over the course of the day, but the day was safe for now. With nobody left to butt heads, she felt exhaustion finally overtake her.
歩いて帰れるかな、私。
It's not even that. Yeah, you're gonna go home, then Alice is gonna be there. What are you gonna say? Her fatigue was enough to make her complain out loud. When she thought about it, she realized that this was the first time she had used up all of her magical energy and the first time she had participated in a battle of this scale without any prior preparation. Though in truth,
私一人じゃどっちも相打ちだったっけ？
she felt somewhat proud as she whispered those words. Normally, it was something that she would beat herself up over and over, but instead, she simply shrugged her shoulders with a bitter smile. After all, it was thanks to the person sleeping by her side.
ね、聞こえてないわよね。
As if the night had swallowed her voice before it reached him, she received no response. Confident, she continued in an even quieter voice.
ありがとう。十分に助けてもらったわ。
Of course, there was no response from Sojiro, and she was not expecting one. Saying it for the record was enough. Aoko watched Sojiro sleep for a while and then pulled something out of her pocket. It was a palm-sized glass bottle her roommate had given her, which she opened with a pop.
でも、それとこれとは別だから。
Leaving behind words colder in winter, at night, winter chill night, she called out his name. She barely sensed the bottle moving. As the silhouette of the fallen boy appeared to blur, she got the feeling that the weight of the bottle had increased slightly.
うわ、どうなってんだろうこ これ。
Dude, why are they not showing Alice though? What appeared to be a human form could clearly be seen inside a glass. Alice Koanji's tools were mystics that confounded even the most knowledgeable of mages. As soon as Aoko tries to analyze them with logic or reason, she was already out of her depth. Knowing this all too well, Aoko closed the bottle and watched the boy disappear as if by some magic trick.
まったく、こんなの手品じゃなくて魔法だって。
She muttered as she looked into the magical bottle. Its weight had not changed significantly and she had no idea how it worked, but the one thing she did know was that there was a human being inside of it. Its light weight was almost unnerving, closer to the empty air than a human being. It was about as heavy as one would expect if they bottled a summer breeze, though that did fit her image of Sojiro perfectly.
アリスの言う通り。
She muttered to no one in particular as she recalled the past.
ほんと、私らしくない。
Aoko wore a bittersweet smile. Her usual moodiness was gone. It was a dangerous world out there. It was good to have someone to keep her toes, or her on her toes. With a weary chuckle, she flicked the magical bottle with her finger and set off walking. Yeah, I want to see Alice though. I want to see what her reaction is. She could hear a bell in the distance signaling the end of the play. An ephemeral dream gave way to reality. In the grand scheme of things, it had been but an instant. As the actors exited stage left, the last of the lights silently flickered out. And so the long-dead amusement park played its final role as a memory for a boy and a girl. Oh, it ended. Chapter end. Okay. Like a dog. Alright, do we got anything here? Nothing. Wait, how do we... Okay, there. So yeah, this Night of Witches is finally over. Very, very long. Yeah, 2 chapters, I guess. Chapter 5, but yeah, part 1 and part 2. But I did like the battles, though, that we had. Aoko, like, biggest, I guess... biggest action-packed moments so far in this game, right? Seeing Aoko battle the puppet, that was pretty cool. But yeah, then they won, right? But then Alice came. And then she made Kitsuland alive with all her magic there. But yeah, Aoko still won at the end. She defeated the Flat Snark, right? And then the egg, the Dumpty, was, yeah, pretty much a bomb, basically, right? But yeah, it was very cool, very cool. Very nice scenes as well between Aoko and Sojiro there. Aoko chasing Sojiro in the beginning, right, of chapter 5. Trying to end him, but in the end of the chapter, they were, yeah, saving each other then. But yeah, why didn't they show Alice though? Like, even after... I guess we'll see it. We'll see in the next chapter, but yeah, I wish we could have seen her reaction as the Flat Snark got destroyed and all that stuff. I wanted to see what she was gonna say, but I guess we're gonna find that out next time. So let's see, right? But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this game. A lot of action. A lot of nice scenes, a lot of, like, what do you call this? Light-hearted scenes. Feels good moments, right? And especially at the end of this chapter when Sojiro, or when Aoko and Sojiro were talking there. And then Sojiro was like, yeah, Aoko was thinking like, he doesn't like you, right? He likes you, but he doesn't like you. Yeah. Pretty funny, pretty funny. But anyways, we are gonna continue this and do more of Witch on the Holy Night in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye-bye.